Hello. Today we're here to talk about the custom reporting features within Insight Lab. So to get started, navigate to the report section and click on the standard globe to be pulled into the library of reports. The reports are organized by report name. Hovering over any report link will give you a general outcome of the report. You can also use the column of report type to know what will the outcome be. Will it include incumbents? Or potentially, are you more interested in a job-based report? So by clicking on any of these hyperlinks, you're going to be loaded into a report. Here we are now. We see our jobs being populated now. I'm looking at our base salary average by job versus market. So here I see my employee base salary, the market at the 50th percentile, and 75th, with a few other measurements that could be helpful. So the real beauty of this report writer is the ability to add to our library of reports and turn these into more customizable reports. So let's add a few additional elements to my view here. By coming over to the tab that says Data Elements, we can add or remove any elements that we might want to see. So by selecting the three dots in front of an element, you can really easily remove columns that potentially are redundant or not helpful. But we can also use these file folders off to the left to see what other elements could potentially be included. So if you're searching for a particular element, you can absolutely search within that database. I today want to open up my market pricing results to see a fuller spread on my report. So looking at the hierarchy, I can open up my market-based salaries and add that 25th percentile. You'll notice that it was loaded right at the bottom of my report in order. It's really easy to drag and drop, wait for that green check mark, and now I've reordered my report. So now I've included that 25th percentile, and I also want to include the 90th. It could also be helpful for me to take a look at my grades midpoints if I'm comparing my market data to my midpoint, and I can add that in the elements also, just by doing a simple search. Now see what elements will show up with that same keyword. Another nice tip is you'll notice that certain symbols will show up before that element that will just give you a hint at how it will show up on your report. So anything that will show up as a percentage will show up with that symbol first. If you're curious what symbols will show up maybe as a number, you can search by that element and see what options will show up. So continue to reorder based off of your preferences. I want to drag my midpoint up, and I also want to include my employees' comp ratios. So if that looks the way you want and you've ordered your report based off of your preferences, go ahead and go back to your report results, and now you'll see those additional columns being loaded in. So all of that in the data elements has now turned this into a more customized report. But we can drill down on this even deeper. Perhaps this is a report really focusing on your engineering group. Filters is a great way to zoom in on just particular groups. So we're going to see the same filter functions when it comes to our elements. So with that, we want to look by our job family, engineering. So if I open up my job table and my codes, here I'll see the option to include job family. And it's the same drag and drop. Wait for the check mark in order to release that element and have the tool accept it. In the drop-down that says operator, it functions very similar to Excel. So you'll see the ability to make rules for your operators. And now in the element value, it's going to look at my HRIS file to identify how I've grouped my job family. So now when I select engineering and go back to my report results, now I'm only looking at my engineering job family, really zooming in on that group in particular. So now this is an even more customized report. You can absolutely add additional elements within the headers of a column, potentially to look at information that is not empty. And you can even change how this is being sorted and broken if you have a preference. You can absolutely apply sorting and breaking rules to these reports. It functions very similarly to Excel, so now you can change how that job family data is being grouped. So now that you've made adjustments to this report, it's no longer a standard report. It's a customized report that you've made changes to. So by coming over to the column that says parameters, you can now save this report into your account for ease of use, ready to come back to whenever you're in the account. Simply click on the link that says Save As and come up with a naming convention that makes sense to you. Now the tool has confirmed that it is a new report. I want to show you where it's going to be saved. It'll always default to publishing this as your personal report, which would mean it would only show up under your login. It would be secured under your account. If you are sharing your account with other users and you want to push it to the site for other users to see, go ahead and open up the dropdown and push it to a site-wide report. Down below, you can even control the values that will show up in your market data. Do you want it to show up in an annual rate or an hourly rate? You can be in control. You can also be in control of how many decimal places will show up in values. So really easy to customize those report results. And as I come back, now that I've made my adjustments, I could see my decimals have been updated as well as my numeric amounts. So coming back to my report library, up at the top, this is where you'll find your personal and our site-wide report. Coming back to that globe of our report we just updated, you'll also have the ability to create a chart. A chart, of course, is going to be connected to the report that you are looking at. So it is going to be populated based off of that report that you've just built. It's the same functionality with the folders that we've gotten used to. So really easy to drag and drop certain features over to your reports. So I want to show you how I got here. Opening up those job tables, I was using the x-axis to represent my job family. So that will represent my x-axis. Now in the y-axis, I want that to represent that market pricing details. So here I'll open up that folder, find my market base salaries, and drag those elements over. So here I can add in that 25th percentile, 50th percentile, and 75th percentile. Looking just at that engineering department, here I can see that market spread for that group. But the nice thing about the charts is the ability to add a series. And I want to add a layer over this chart to pull in how is my mid, min, and max aligning to the market. So we're telling a story with the data. So opening up my structure table, now here I can find my salary ranges and add in that minimum, midpoint, and maximum. Be on the lookout for that green check mark to show up so you can know how that order is showing up. You'll also see a column that will show you the color codes for those measurements. So from here, it's really easy to compare how is my midpoint falling, how is my compared to the market. Of course, you can also be in control of custom colors and creating your own visualizations. Up at the top, we can add another chart to this series if we want to layer our employees' pay over this data. So just by using that exact same practice, opening up our employee table and dragging their salaries over. So instead of that showing up as a bar column, I want it to show up as a scatter plot. So now this is telling a more interesting story, seeing how my employees are falling within that market spread. and that internal range. You can always draw a box over the fields if you want to zoom in and see in more close detail certain information within a report. Hovering over any of those bubbles, you'll see a cut and dry explanation of that job and that base salary amount. And really easy to reset the zoom. You can also select and unselect elements to change and alter your report, depending on which view are you most pleased with. Up at the top, you can redraw, download, and filter a chart also. Similar functionalities to the reporting that we've seen before. In the settings of this section, you can continue to customize this report with a chart title. Along with further customization, choosing whether or not a legend is appropriate. If you would like data labels. And further customization in the X and Y axis. So there you have it. We've just created a report and a chart visualization to go along with it. All of that will be saved in our report library, and you're ready to go back to that standard report list and work through that process again. Thank you so much for watching.